Luke limits his sources to those who could be verified as eyewitnesses from the beginning. A practice in historiography, the study of historical writings to develop narratives, use verifiable primary sources, eyewitnesses, not hearsay. So Luke gathered and analyzed all of these sources. And Luke had physical contact with many of Christ's disciples. He traveled with Paul, so Luke had access to speak with Mark. Philemon 24. In fact, he was present in Jerusalem during the discussions between Paul and James in Acts 21. And if he didn't have time then, when Paul was in prison in Caesarea for 2 years, Acts 24:27, that is not very far a walk from Jerusalem. Who lived in Jerusalem? Mary, the 120 who gathered in Jerusalem after Christ's ascension, the 500 who all came to Jerusalem and witnessed the resurrection, most of whom were still alive. 1 Corinthians 5:6 shows that. A whole host of people in Jerusalem who knew Jesus personally and whose words and actions were prevalent and fresh in their minds. The skill and care taken to preserve the account of actual events would give comfort to the Greek mind that what they were reading was true. The Greek mind was a mind that was based on evidence. Now, they believed some nonsense too. But when it came to their historical writings, they wanted somebody, and they trusted those who would do the diligent research. And so they would have accepted Luke as a historian. As a matter of fact, Luke 1:1-4 serves as an introduction very similar to that which Greek and Roman historians used. For example, Josephus, in Against Oppian, he uses a very similar introduction. Herodotus, Polybius, other Greek historians began their narratives exactly like this. Now, as Luke is writing to the Greek mind about salvation history, he takes every precaution to ensure that they understood that he used the very same methods that they came to expect from the historians. In fact, I submit that this is exactly why God sovereignly chose to have an educated Gentile to write what was essentially the gospel to the Gentiles. The fact that it is only addressed to one man is not a problem either, because a lot of the historians would address their histories to their patrons. Like a good investigative reporter, Luke talked with people. Luke read what credible witnesses had written. Luke looked at the details. Luke did not sensationalize or take away anything. Luke focused on facts, just the facts, just the facts. Going on to verses 3 and 4. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus, that thou mightest know the certainty of those things wherein thou hast been instructed. Perfect understanding are the words he used. He had a detailed and accurately completed study and was convinced by what he found. Even in ancient Rome, as we see, Luke was a physician. Physicians were trained to be thorough in their research, detailed in their observations, and logical in their conclusions. From the very first is an accurate translation, but it also has another translation that is just as accurate, and that is from above, referring to inspiration. Luke did the research. Luke held the pen. God gave us the gospel that Luke wrote. Through all of his research and writing, Luke was under the sovereign control of God's Holy Spirit, and the gospel that he wrote is the very word of the living God, the very testimony of the Almighty. So he is saying that God was guiding him.